and Eric Freed on sports.
The Maine hockey team is pushing it to another level, and tonight is no exception. Good evening, I'm Jennifer McNeil.
And I'm Dale Dixon. Scores 3-3, third overtime. It is thrilling.
I don't think my heart can take it anymore. What about you, Eric?
I think mine stopped somewhere in the first overtime, Jen and Dale. It is, as you say, 3-3 now between overtimes. We're between the second and third overtime. This game started shortly after 1 o'clock. Now, 4.5 hours later, they're still going. Maine and Michigan, a rematch. One of the national semifinals from 2 years ago. That one went to overtime. Lee Saunders won it in overtime, but this one going to a third overtime. It's been back and forth. It's been very exciting down in Providence as Maine and Michigan try to get a berth in the NCAA championship game. Now, the timing, I think, is going to work out pretty good here because Dan Hannigan is down in Providence, standing by at the Providence Civic Center where he's been following the Black Bears. We expected by this time to have post-game reaction. Instead, we have reaction after 2 periods from Mr. Hannigan. Dan, can you hear me down there?
I sure can, Eric, and I'm in the runway here of the Providence Civic Center, and tell you what, it is, as you said, probably the greatest game, college hockey game we've ever seen, and it's just an unbelievable. It looked like Maine was going to get buried early in the first 4:16 of the game. Michigan scored 2 goals, knocking Maine down 2-0, but Jeff Torrey scored late in the first. And he put the Bears on the board. They added another one in the second, actually went up 3-2 in the third before Michigan tied it, sent it into the first overtime. One guy that's been absolutely stellar is Blair Allison. An unbelievable performance for him. He has 47 saves so far. By the way, both teams have combined for 105 shots in what is the longest NCAA tournament college hockey game ever. So it is quite a thrilling game here at the Providence Civic Center. Maine and Michigan are about to hit the ice in a little over 3 minutes. So we're going to have to cut things off here. But as you said, we're going to try to get to the post-game reaction. But heck, if this thing goes on, we might have to wait until 11 to do that. But right now, it's a wonderful game here. Everybody on the edge of their seats, back and forth. Both goaltenders just tremendous in net, especially Blair Allison. Made some glove saves that you won't believe. You'll see highlights of those after the game is over. But that's the story from here. 3-3 going into the third overtime. A tremendous game here at the Providence Civic Center.
Dan, before you go, one quick question. You've been in the arena. What's the atmosphere like down there? It's just in this newsroom, and there's about a dozen of us. We can hardly breathe right now. What's it like down there?
Atmosphere is just tremendous here. Both sides, both Michigan and Maine fans on their feet repeatedly, you know, giving the big wave to both goaltenders as they bow in their presence. The goaltenders, as I said, the big story in this one. Chris Hines, also a tremendous game, stopping, he and the rest of the defense, stopping that potent Michigan offense that everyone was worried about. Right now, it's the next goal wins. The next goal gets you into the national title game. So that's the story from here. Eric, back to you.
All right, Dan, go get back to your seat and check out that third overtime. As Dan mentioned, this is the longest NCAA tournament game ever, about 2 minutes away from being the longest college hockey game ever. It's already one of the greatest games of all time, you have to call that, and it's not even over yet. 3-3 going into the third overtime. We hope to check in with Dan again before this newscast is out, but, you know, if this game keeps going, we're going to have to wait, as he said, to 11 o'clock. But I'll be back in about 15 minutes, so give you an update. Jen and Dale.
All right, Eric, thanks. Back to more news. A large number of students at the University College in Bangor have tested positive for tuberculosis. Health officials began testing people after a 23-year-old student from Lincoln County was diagnosed with active TB just before Thanksgiving. Of the 153 people tested, officials say 37 people have tested positive for TB. Dr. Kathleen Gensheimer says officials are still looking for more people who may have been exposed. TB is a bacterial infection of the lungs and can be spread when a person coughs or sneezes. Usually only 10% of those infected will develop active tuberculosis.
Aging is in everyone's future. That's the theme of Maine's White House Conference on Aging in Augusta. More than 150 delegates are attending workshops on various aging topics. The delegates will make recommendations for Maine's elderly based on the workshops. One of the workshops deals with housing and the creation of adult foster homes.
As of January of this year. The program,
Oregon, the state I've just come from, has literally thousands of persons who live in 5-person or fewer adult homes. Many of these are newly constructed. They provide very good personal care, for people who in other states, including states like Maine, are being cared for in larger nursing homes that are more costly, most importantly, and also that involve larger numbers of other people, whereas these homes are more home-like. They're 5 people or fewer. It's more like your own home.
Some of the delegates will take their recommendations to the National White House Conference on Aging. It takes place in Washington, D.C. in 2 weeks.
And Maine lobstermen are appealing for restrictions on draggers, who they say are stripping the ocean floor of their catch. They say draggers displaced from the Georges Bank are taking huge lobster catches. Lobstermen contend egg-bearing females are not being returned to the sea as required by law. The issue will be addressed at the New England Fishery Management Council meeting was addressed today, in Massachusetts. Maine representatives have argued before for a total ban on dragging for lobsters. Members of the legislature have proposed budget cuts that would close 4 correctional facilities around the state to save $11 million. The plan was submitted to the Appropriations Committee, even though many don't support the cuts. The proposal would close the Down East Correctional Facility and pre-release centers in Windham, Howell, and Bangor. But Corrections Commissioner Joseph Lehman says that would rob the system of 400 beds and force the state to find new homes for 255 prisoners.
As the April 15th tax deadline approaches, it seems Mainers who are owed refunds are receiving them faster this year than last. The average refund this year is being mailed out 17 days after the return is filed. Last year, the average wait was about 8 weeks. The quick returns have pulled state revenues below budget for February. State officials say officials have already processed more than 125,000 refunds, totaling more than $39 million.
And eye doctors in the state may soon be able to write prescriptions and treat eye conditions. That is, if a proposed bill passes the state legislature. Currently, optometrists can only prescribe eye ointments and diagnose eye conditions. The bill would allow optometrists to treat conditions like glaucoma. The president of the Maine Society of Eye Physicians and Surgeons says the proposed bill presents a public health risk. He says it could mean Maine will have surgeons that never went to medical school. And $6.4 million in marijuana was confiscated in a drug bust yesterday. 46-year-old Ronaldo Ticciarelli of Florida has been charged with possession of 500 pounds of hash oil and 100 pounds of marijuana. The drugs were found in a storage locker in Holton. Authorities were tipped off when the man gave false information while crossing the Canadian border last week. He was arrested in Holden and taken into federal custody. Now, if convicted, he faces up to 45 years in prison and more than $2 million in fines.
To Los Angeles, luggage is still a hot topic today in the O.J. Simpson trial. Charles Ziwi reports.
Simpson friend and attorney Robert Kardashian could give crucial testimony on what happened to 2 missing bags belonging to the ex-football star as he left for the airport the night of the murders. One of those bags, prosecutors say, contained bloody clothes Simpson wore as he knifed his ex-wife and a friend to death.
If it remains a mystery, if it's very intriguing, did we lose a bag or did he dispose of something in a bag, that too is going to help them to create a doubt in the mind of the jury.
Kardashian is important in answering questions about the bags because he handled Simpson's luggage when Simpson returned from Chicago after being told of Nicole Simpson's death.
I want to tell the truth. I want to do whatever's right.
In court, though, a lawyer for Kardashian indicated he might invoke the attorney-client privilege. Judge Ito told prosecutors to tell Kardashian what they want to ask him.
Do these photographs accurately depict the trash can that is shown in...
Prosecutors suggest Simpson dumped a duffel bag with the clothes inside in an airport trash can. A skycap said he saw Simpson standing near a receptacle.
Yes, he was standing near the trash can.
Transcripts of a sidebar conference quote prosecutors as saying a witness has come forward who will say that he, too, saw Simpson place a duffel bag on a trash can at the airport.
Once all the evidence is in, I am confident that all the bags will be accounted for.
Later, Judge Ito will continue a hearing on a defense attack on admissibility of DNA tests.
We're very concerned that people not be presented DNA evidence in a way that is unduly prejudicial.
Defense attorneys, meanwhile, have dropped their top DNA expert from their witness list, Edward Blake, saying he might have had to turn over defense strategy if he testified. But legal experts suggest the defense really didn't want to put its top DNA expert in the position of having to admit on the stand that DNA testing is mostly accurate. Charles Ziwi, CNN, Los Angeles.
Helping children deal with grief was the subject of a teleconference at Eastern May Medical Center today. Cokie Roberts of ABC News moderated the event from Washington, D.C. More than 50 people attended the teleconference in Bangor and were able to ask questions by calling an 800 number.
I think the most important thing that people might take away with them is that children of all ages can experience loss and grief. Children as young as 6 months can experience the loss of a person who has been a caregiver for them. That person is no longer there. So I think it's important that people respect children and their grief, and I think that's one thing that people will take away from them with this conference.
Living with Grief Children Mourning Children was sponsored by Hospice of Eastern Maine. And
I understand we have some very good news, and Eric's standing by to tell us what the news is. Apparently he isn't available, but we will go back to him. Apparently the UMaine hockey team has won, that we understand, and that's very exciting, but we're going to take a break now.
And when we come back, we're also going to give you the good news with sports, and we'll see if Rick has any good news when we come back in just a moment. Good news, you're just beaming.
It is good news. If I'm out here, that means something has happened. And if we all have smiles, something big's happened. Maine has won. It is final in 3 overtimes. It took about a minute, just about that, in the 3rd overtime. But Dan Schermerhorn scores, and the Black Bears are going back to the national championship game in Division I college hockey. They knock off Michigan in just a fantastic game. 4-3 the final score in triple overtime. Maine fell behind 2-0 in this game, looked really flat, but then they bounced back, tied it up at 2, took a 3-2 lead. Michigan tied it up at 3 at the end of regulation, and 2 overtimes, and a minute later, it is over. Maine going back to the championship game. They will play 1:30 on Saturday afternoon in Providence against the winner of the Minnesota-Boston University game, which comes up tonight at 8:30. Dan Hannigan is gathering up some post-game quotes. He'll join us in just a few minutes, we hope. Certainly, as this news hour goes along, we'll check back in with Dan live down at Providence. But great news for the Black Bears, as it was something that we watched the whole game. Yeah, everybody, you know, it's amazing we got anything done today, but it was just a fantastic game. Blair Allison was just amazing in goal, and again, like 2 years ago, Maine is back in the championship game.
So great to see. They worked so hard.
Yeah, they're a hard-working team, and they would probably want 3 or 4 days off before the championship game. They're going to be kind of tired, but you have no choice.
After all those overtimes?
Yeah, after 2 overtimes and into the 3rd. So we'll be back with more in just a few minutes.
Okay, can't wait. Thanks, sir.
And we switch over now to weather. Switch gears a little bit.
Kind of cloudy, but still not too bad today. Rick has a look at the forecast. Rick?
Jen, Dale, what a great day today. It started out a lot of bonus sunshine and clouds. Come on, guys, can I wear it? Can I wear it? All right, good. All right, Black Bear fans, here's the tale. Clouds coming in, and they're going to stay with us for just a while. This is my Eric Fried sportscaster imitation. I'm going to try to handle this through most of the weather forecast. Let's take a look at our current conditions right now outside our News Channel 7 studios. We're talking Bangor, we're talking some clouds. We're talking Black Bear land with a temperature near 41 degrees, mostly cloudy right now. Our temperature is hanging near, covers up my Stassi haircut. You notice that, Jen? I know you were thinking that. Wind's out of the south, and our barometer is steady at 30 inches of mercury, and the relative humidity, you can feel it, it's picking up at 65%. High temperature today up in the county. Presque Isle with a 48-degree reading. Caribou with a low just to the north with 47 degrees. And let's take a look around the state right now. There's our 41 in Bangor, 42 up in Lincoln. Again, warmer temperatures up in the county because they're closer to a low-pressure system, which I'll point out in just a moment. 30s along the coast, a cool onshore breeze. And down to the south, some rain has now reached parts of Portland and Brunswick, cooling things off to 39 and 41 degrees. Here's your national situation. Here's some rain down toward the Gulf Coast. This is what was plaguing them with a whole lot of rain earlier. Parts of Texas, parts of Louisiana picking up another 2 inches of rain today. And that front is pretty much stationary. It's going to stay there for just a while. If those of you who are traveling down there, you think you're going to find sunshine in the Sunshine State, I'm sorry to report, no. That system would brought a lot of snow to the Four Corners region. It's finally losing its steam, but not before dusting a few more flurries today. Our concern right now is this band of showers and clouds and maybe even some flurry activity up reaching from the Ohio River Valley up into northern New England. Here's a closer look on our regional radar, most of it coming earlier this afternoon in the form of snow. Due to some warmer air, and it becomes all shower activity, and it's knocking on our door. There you see why Portland is now reporting light rain, temperature near 39 degrees, and it's a cooling rain. Clouds dominate the entire state. But look, right around Bangor, we got lucky today, and that's why we got most of that sunshine to peek through.
There's the low pressure. It sweeps through the Pine Tree State tonight, well into tomorrow with a few flurries possible up to the north. But by Saturday, it seems to clear out a bit, and we can expect just a couple of clouds. Tonight's lows dipping down to the 30s for the most of the state, and for tomorrow, we'll warm things up. Not too much warmer, 30s and 40s. Here's your News Channel 7 forecast tonight. Light rain or snow with temperatures near 30 degrees. Winds out of the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Go Bears. And for tomorrow, still some drizzle. It should end by the afternoon with a high near 46. Winds are going to shift to the northwest. By Friday night, scattered showers or flurries. There's our clearing and a low near 24. I think you're going to be pleased with the extended forecast. In the marine forecast, Mariners, south to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. They'll diminish. They'll shift to the northwest tomorrow with seas running generally 2 to 4 feet through the period. There are your tides in Bar Harbor. There's your sunrise and sunset for Bar Harbor. And here's that extended forecast. Calling for sunshine on Saturday with a high near 44. Sunday, partly sunny at 43. And Monday, sun and clouds and a temperature near 48 degrees. I have 2 more words to say. I'll share them with everyone. Go Bears!
And that's a sassy hat.
It's a sassy hat, don't you think? Go Bears.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. And when we come back, we're going to go back to Eric. He's in the newsroom, and he's getting ready to talk to Dan Hannigan.
Yep, who's live in Rhode Island.
Bears. So stay with us.
Just now, and my heart is still racing. What an incredible game.
I don't have any bad news to bring you here.
I like that.
It's all good news
Yeah.
here. 4-3 Maine win in triple overtime down at the Providence Civic Center. The Maine Black Bears fell behind 2-0, but they come back, and in close games, they are very tough to beat, and we saw that again tonight. And I don't think you can find a much closer game than this one. Went to the 3rd overtime when Dan Schermerhorn got the game winner. Dan Hannigan standing by down at Providence. Every single person here jealous of you, Dan, because you had the best seat in the house. We had to watch from here, but you were down there for one of the best games ever. Dan.
I'd say it is the best game ever. I've never seen anything like this. Back and forth both ways. Michigan going out to a 2-0 lead. Maine going 3-2. Then they tie it. And then the real game started in overtime. We go 1 overtime, 2 overtimes, and then just 28 seconds into the 3rd overtime, Dan Schermerhorn picks up his 2nd goal of the game. Gives Maine a 4-3 win, the same score that they beat Michigan by 2 years ago to go into the national finals. Now, Maine has been in 5 Final Fours in their history. 4 of them, or 3 of them, I should say, they did not make the national final. One time before, they made it to the final, and they won it, as we know, in 1993. Maine will play the winner of tonight's Minnesota BU game right here on the Providence Civic Center ice. I don't know if this building will stop shaking by then, but it was quite a game. Both sides, both teams, schools, fans just totally into this game. As Blair Allison put on a tremendous show in net, coming up with 48 saves, I should say. 47 saves it was. That's the total for Allison. And Turco for Michigan came up with 52 saves. So tremendous performance by both goaltenders. Chris Imes stifling the powerful Michigan forwards in the main end, and as did most of the other Maine defensemen and forwards as well. Everybody was a team defensive effort, and I'll tell you what, it did not look good for Maine in that first period, falling down 2-0 at just 4. except for them pouring onto the ice and just congratulating each other. So we're going to have to see. We're going to go down to the locker room right now and talk to some of the players and get their reaction. If they could speak, they might just be so conked out from a 3 overtime game. But I have a feeling they've got a little adrenaline left to talk to us, and they've got a lot of good things to say, I'm sure.
Well, you can get a side job as a spokesman for them over the next half hour or so. We'll check back with you, Dan, in about a half hour or so, we hope. Dan Hannigan live down in Providence, Rhode Island. Maine Black Bears going on to the national championship game in Division I college hockey as they knock off Michigan in a triple overtime thriller, 3-2 the final score. Try to get to, we'll definitely get to the highlights of this game coming up in about 15 or 20 minutes or so, and we'll also try to check back in with Dan down in Providence if his voice holds up.
I think he will. I think he's so excited.
He's pretty excited.
Yeah, he's pretty happy.
Yeah, the best seat in the house,
That's right.
all right.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Eric.
Sure.
Well, next up, we'll examine the future of healthcare in Maine communities.
And Kathy Kaplan from the Bucksport Health Initiative will join us live next.
Is trying to find out what folks' area health concerns are. The group is called the Healthy Communities Coalition, and joining us now to talk more about that is Kathy Kaplan. Thanks for being with us. Tell us about this coalition.
Well, it's a coalition that is being funded right now through a grant that the Bucksport Regional Health Center received last fall. There are 2 parts to the grant. One was to develop an integrated service network, which is looking more at some managed care, and the Healthy Communities Coalition, where the community itself has an opportunity to take charge of their health care and their needs and whatever, and to identify what is going on and the problems that are going on in their community.
So this is a real opportunity for the community to get involved in health care.
That's right. I think that the past, we've always looked at health care as being driven by hospitals and physicians and healthcare providers, and this is an opportunity for the community to take charge of their own health care. As we look at the future, we're looking more at wellness and prevention, and some of the things that are happening in our community could be well related to exterior things such as pollution. Oh, gee.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Part of this is a survey, to conduct a survey. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there's a community. We all have opinions about what's going on or what's causing the problems in our community, and the survey, it's called the Community Opinion Survey. We're the volunteers. This is really being driven by community members, and volunteers will be going out into the community asking questions of community leaders and community members as to what they perceive the problems to be in their area. I mean, we're looking at Bucksport, Orland, Stockton Springs, any area that uses Bucksport as a service area, so that they will have some handle on what the problems are perceived to be. We do have data available for us in Augusta that we can compare some of this information to, and we may down the road be looking at a behavioral risk factor survey for the area so that we look at some of the health behaviors that you may want to change.
All right, Kathy Kaplan, sounds fascinating. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And coming up next, we're going to take a look at state seatbelt laws, and they may be coming closer to being a reality.
That and a lot more straight ahead. Stay with us.
Waterville and Dover Foxcroft, the News Channel 7 News Hour continues.
To more news now. State legislators are considering a bill that would require all Mainers to buckle up in the car. There's likely to be some debate over the proposal. A majority of the Transportation Committee has voted in favor of mandatory seatbelts. Some members say that means car insurance rates should be cut by 5% for the 2 years after the law takes effect. Governor King says he'll sign the bill if it reaches his desk.
Usually, warm spring weather is synonymous with long waits and slower traffic as the Department of Transportation gets roads in shape after the winter. But this spring traffic seems to be moving along a little easier as the roads didn't take such a beating during the past winter.
I think that the big thing is that we didn't have the cold weather this winter that we had last winter. Not as much frost in the ground and a lot earlier spring.
And Gray pointed out that motorists need to pay close attention to the various bright orange signs that are posted on area roads.
Police responded to a freak accident in Herman early this morning. 39-year-old Crystal Henderson and her daughter were apparently riding along in their car on the Fuller Road. When the daughter noticed she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, authorities say she tried to put it on, but instead the car door opened and she fell out of the moving vehicle. The 12-year-old girl was taken to Eastern Maine Medical Center where she was treated and released.
And a group of Bangor High School students got a financial boost today in their quest to build an electric car. General Electric donated $2,000 to the problem-solving class today. The class is building the car to compete in a race later this spring.
Total of $2,000, which is significant. And I'd like to thank you for that.
Give you an official handshake.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And I'll give it to Mr. Moores. Thank you. Who really needs it more than I.
Now, the total project is expected to cost about $3,000.
Governor King has announced a plan to provide special services for families at risk. King unveiled his plan Healthy Start at an elementary school in Portland today. He says the program would provide home visits on a voluntary basis to families with newborn children who are in danger of becoming abused or getting sick. The goal is to provide preventative care that will protect the children and save taxpayers the cost of more expensive social services later on. King has included $500,000 in his budget to set up 3 pilot projects across the state. Senator Sean Faircloth, the Bangor Democrat, sponsored legislation that led to a study of the Healthy Heart concept last year. Researchers are finding ways to employ computer technology to help in the detection and treatment of breast cancer. Andrew Holtz has the story.
Somewhere in the spiderweb image of a breast X-ray can lurk signs of cancer. Researchers are developing a computer that searches for suspicious spots on mammograms, marking them with arrows to help doctors make a diagnosis.
The radiologist would still make the final decision using those arrows as an aid. It's similar to a colleague pointing over the radiologist's shoulder and saying, "Oh, did you look at this area?"
Other researchers are trying PET scans to find out if breast cancer treatment is working. If the scan indicates cancer cells are unaffected, doctors could quickly switch to an alternate drug or treatment. Some women with advanced breast cancer undergo very expensive and risky high-dose chemotherapy and a bone marrow transplant. But Duke University doctors are cutting the average hospital stay from over a month to just 5 days.
Well, altogether, when you take the patient and treat them in an outpatient mode, you can reduce the cost of the whole transplant by about $40,000 to $70,000.
And the 350 transplant outpatients have had fewer complications than expected. They stay in a hotel right next to the hospital so they can return quickly if necessary. Breast cancer survivors are usually told not to take estrogen replacement therapy, even though it can reduce heart disease and osteoporosis after menopause. And that's because of fears the hormones might raise the odds their cancer could return. But now some researchers are challenging that assumption.
The women in our program who are taking estrogen are very happy. They have significant symptomatic improvement of all of the menopausal problems that were a problem for them.
So far, the researchers say cancer has not returned in any of their patients, but the test won't be complete for several more years. Cancer is cell growth that's out of control. Researchers have found an enzyme called telomerase that seems to allow cancer cells to keep dividing and growing.
The prediction would be that if you could inhibit the telomerase activity, you would restore the cellular senescence or aging program, eventually leading to the death of the cell.
This research raises the possibility that if doctors could use telomerase without inadvertently triggering cancer, well, that might allow normal cells to live longer, perhaps extending the healthy lifespans of people. But that's a distant dream. The first goal is to halt cancer growth. And researchers predict tests of treatments to stop telomerase might begin within a couple of years. Andrew Holtz, CNN, New Orleans.
I tell you what, there are some excited UMaine fans right now.
Oh, I'm very excited.
We're some of them. So Erickson next with sports. We'll see you soon.
When you compare the numbers for a Civic or Corolla...
Fabulous game.
Yeah, fabulous. And we don't want to wait any longer. We want to hear from these happy kids. We throw it now down to Dan Hannigan, who's standing by down at the Providence Civic Center with a couple of the happy Black Bears. Dan.
Well, Eric, for a change now, you'll hear more than just me talk out here, describe the game. We're going to hear from a couple players, Tim Lovell and Dave McIsaac join me, and just a tremendous team defensive game. I mean, I think you got to chalk it up to that. From Blair Allison to you guys, the forwards and the defensemen, just everybody pitched in to shut this offense down, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Allie came up with at least 10 unbelievable saves that really kept us in it, and we fought, and it could have been anyone's game, but we're thrilled to take it.
Yeah. Tim, tell me what the team's feeling as you go from overtime to overtime. I mean, did it feel like, geez, something's got to break here?
Yeah, I think guys were getting mentally tired, and they just didn't want to make mistakes, and I thought everybody was playing great, and everybody wanted the winner. So it happened in the third overtime, and it just feels great.
Chris Imes especially seemed to step up in this game, as did Blair Allison. Talk about what it's like to have a guy like Imes next to you guys back there, and to have Allison behind you when you're in a tight game like this.
Yeah, Chris has done a great job all year leading us, and he's been here before, so he knows what it's like, and he did it again tonight. And
yeah. How about you, Tim?
Imes just played a great game. Allie was spectacular. I mean, you can't say any more about Allie, but I think Imes he was the leader tonight. He's our captain. He was our leader. Showed it.
When you got that first goal and Jeff Torrey scored in the first period, you cut it to 2-1. It wasn't 3-0 or anything, Michigan. Did you feel like you were back in this game and you were at this point, you know, you could play with these guys?
Yeah, definitely. It reminded me exactly of the game 2 years ago. The first 2 shots they got went in the net, and then we came back and won it overtime. Same thing happened tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's 2-0 in a long game. I mean, anything can happen. They started off great, made a couple nice plays, and we knew we would get right back into it. After the first goal, anybody's game after that.
There must come a time for both teams that you got so frustrated from not being able to score when you had so many opportunities, both goaltenders playing so well, that you start to think that, man, maybe this just isn't our day.
No, we try to stay positive on the bench. I mean, we've done a great job through the playoffs now, and stay positive, and things will happen. So
yeah, tell me about tonight's game. Who do you want to play? Do you want to haul hockey east, or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter to me. I just want to, play on Saturday. I'm kind of tired right now, so.
Yeah, I think a 3 overtime game in the Minnesota BU game might be justice for you, so that you're all on the same level going into Saturday.
Right. I mean, it would be great to play BU every time we face off against each other. It's a battle.
Coach Walsh talked this week about how this team rises to the occasion against the good teams. You lost to teams that were so-so all year long, but yet against the good teams, you either won or tied those games. What is it about you that makes you raise the level of play?
Well, it's playoff time, and everybody has got to realize you got to step it up to another level, and I think everybody on this team has done that. Everyone's stepped it up a level, and it's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Dave agrees. Dave McIsaac, Tim Lowe. I'll let these guys go because Saturday. Eric, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Dan. Great job by Dan and Tim and Dave and Tim and everybody down there. And we'll check back in with you certainly at 11 o'clock tonight, and maybe later on in the news hour. We want to get you highlights of this game. We haven't showed you that yet. Maine beating Michigan 4-3 in triple overtime. The Bears got off to a slow start. Michigan jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first 4 minutes and 15 seconds of the game. But the Bears settled down and answered. Jeff Torrey, the team scoring leader, makes it 2-1 after 1. Second period, off the face-off, Brad Purdy winds and fires and scores past freshman goaltender Marty Turco. It's 2-2 after 2. Blair Allison, terrific in goal. The save in front right there. This isn't over yet. It gets better. Watch this. The save down, but not out. The glove is up, and it grabs the puck. A remarkable save, getting his proper kudos. Watch it again in slow motion. Allison looking all the way and saves a goal. Terrific save by Blair Allison. 3-2 Maine in the third. Michigan ties it up on the power play, and we're going to overtime, tied at 3. In overtime, Allison at it again. Another great glove save for Blair. He needed a little help from his friends. The post, look at this one. Brendan Morrison, that's your game winner, right? Wrong. Off the post, and Maine still is alive. They put the pressure on as well. But the freshman in goal for Michigan up to the challenge. Wild scramble. He doesn't get too flustered. And we go to triple overtime. And after the 2 overtimes, tied at 3, it's the longest game in NCAA tournament history. 28 seconds into the 3rd overtime. How many big goals has Dan Schermerhorn scored this year? That's the biggest, and that wins the game. In 3 overtimes, Maine wins 4-3, the final score. They're going on to the national championship game on Saturday against either Boston University or Minnesota. A terrific game down in Providence. Dan Hannigan has already talked to a couple of the players. We'll have the full recap tonight at 11 o'clock. That's it.
Can you play those again? I love those highlights.
You know what? We'll have them for, you know, a few more times for you to watch later on. You know, just for your personal pleasure. You know, that's the benefit of working here.
Take a breath.
Take a breather.
You deserve it.
And when we come back, are we equipping our college students with the tools they'll need to make it in the real world?
William Beardsley, the president of Hudson College, joins us live next.
Including John McKernan, officials in higher education and business leaders are meeting in Boston for a one-day conference. The event is aimed at discussing higher education and the economy of New England. And joining us now to talk about these issues is the president of Hudson College, William Beardsley, and it's a pleasure to have you on with us tonight. Appreciate it. Here. And I'm sure you're hoping you could be down in Boston, but we're glad you could be here. And first of all, what is the status of higher education right now in New England?
Well, I think what's going on, I think Peter Drucker covered it pretty well, that we're moving towards knowledge as a knowledge-based society. And so a lot of us are really changing gears from providing just skills and professional training to really expanding that whole knowledge base. So that's going on, and you're seeing a lot of liberalization of professional schools like Hudson. At the same time, you're seeing some of the liberal arts schools not being able to fill their dorms and stuff like that, and they're beginning to move much more into professional fields. So there's a blending of the public and the private and the liberal arts and the professional schools going on right now. It's kind of interesting.
Now, do you see that as a positive aspect, negative aspect, or
I think everybody's beating to competition. But I think just this morning I was with Irving Oil, and they're doing a tremendous amount of training in their own institutions. So I think the competition in higher education is going to be coming from Irving Oil. IBM now spends more than Harvard on higher education. And so we're finding Bath Iron Works is now providing training abroad. When will they start providing training here in Maine? So we're finding that our whole industry is really getting very diversified.
Okay. Now, high schoolers coming into the college setting, do you see them being prepared, particularly the ones from the New England states?
I think that's a real challenge. You know, I think a lot of schools are doing an awful lot, colleges are doing an awful lot of remediation. We disguise it as much as you can, but there's an awful lot of students that really have math anxiety. They have some capabilities, but they also have problems in the written word and stuff like this. So I would say a significant number of students are not really well prepared. But I'm not sure they ever have always been that prepared.
Okay. And to wrap things up, what's the future of higher education here in New England?
I think there's a tremendous trend towards privatization. The last 50 years we've seen a trend, but I don't think the public sector is going to be putting as much money as a percentage of their total budget into higher education. So I think you're going to see a shift into more and more privatization, both in the private sector and the private colleges.
Okay. William Beardsley, thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
See you again soon. And when we come back,
Rick
Tyler, a little bit of, we're going to see what he has to say about the upcoming weather for the weekend. And
That's right. I hope it looks good.
Yep.
We'll find out next. Stay with us.
Best sportscast by the Maine Associated Press.
All right, Rick Tyler's in. Still playing with that hat.
You gonna let anybody else wear it?
No.
You're selfish.
No, I am selfish because I am a UMaine Black Bear fan, and I am so psyched. I think my enthusiasm is only eclipsed by Dan Hannigan's enthusiasm for the UMaine Black Bears. But obviously, Mother Nature is not very excited because the weather we are going to have. She's obviously a Michigan fan. Let me explain why with our current conditions outside our News Channel 7 studios right now. A whole lot of clouds came in, and they came in like that. Our temperature stands at 41 degrees. Winds are out of the south now at 23 miles per hour. Our barometer is pretty steady at the 30 inches, but it's falling and the relative humidity is on the climb as some precipitation heads our way. Let me show it to you. Oh, first, today's high in Presque Isle. The county had the high with 48, while just to the north Caribou with the low. And now it's warmer in the county because of a low pressure system, which I'll point out shortly. A 42-degree reading in Lincoln, 42 over in Greenville. Along the coast, 38s and 39s. And as you approach the Portland area, cooling off because the rain is now down there, and it's coming our way. Nationally, here's your radar. You can see the rain moving up from the Ohio River Valley into parts of Pennsylvania and New York, and it's right on the doorstep of northern New England. Down to the Gulf Coast, they're still dealing with some severe weather. Some tornado watches posted just in the parts of Texas and maybe into Oklahoma today. But otherwise, flash flood warnings for Pensacola, Florida, parts of Louisiana. Remember, there was a big storm we talked about over the Four Corners section that dumped 2 to 3 feet of snow. It's finally losing some steam and just a dusting, just flurries there today. Go Bears. Here's the situation locally. Here's that precipitation that's coming right toward us. It should be coming in pretty much during the overnight tonight, and with it, of course, accompanied by the clouds. And this is the kind of day that we had, the clouds, sunshine playing peekaboo through them. That's why we had some bits of sun in the morning, but of course it thickened up through the afternoon. Just what we have to deal with living in Maine. Here's the low pressure. It's going to move pretty much overhead to us. That's why it's warmer to the north and cooler to the south. Here's the situation by tomorrow. The low moves well off. Flurries come in behind it. There's a high pressure system down here in the Ohio Valley. They're going to have their chance to cool out. But we're going to have to deal with more of this low pressure mess at least well into Saturday. As that moves off, there's another one just behind it. More cool weather. And I think that should play out sometime into Monday, maybe into Tuesday. But for now, the News Channel 7 forecast, light rain or snow tonight with a temperature near 30 degrees. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per... Yes, the UMaine Black Bears do rule. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, we're going to try to get rid of whatever precipitation is falling. That's for tomorrow by the afternoon with a high near 46 degrees. Look at the shift in the wind as that high moves off. Now out of the northwest at 5 to 15 miles per hour. And by Friday night, some scattered showers or flurries. Late clearing, setting us up for a good Saturday, but Friday night pretty cool, down to 24 degrees. In the marine forecast, eastport to the Merrimack and up to 25 nautical miles offshore. The winds are south to southeast tonight at 10 to 20 knots. They'll diminish late, with visibility falling to a mile or less and rain and fog as that mess hits us. Average seas running 2 to 4 feet. For tomorrow, the wind shift northwest at 5 to 15 knots with average seas again 2 to 4 feet. Visibility a mile or less and rain and fog. The tides in Bar Harbor. There's a high tonight, 10:35. There's a low at 4:51 tomorrow morning. Sunrise just after 5 tomorrow morning. Sunset just before 6. Let's talk about the extended forecast. Let's talk about sunshine and an A- for Saturday. Partly sunny on Sunday with a temperature near 43. Monday, not looking too bad. Sun and clouds, but those clouds are going to bring some precipitation by Monday and a B+. Look, we've got some stuff to go to this week. And Jen, I know you're going to be here at Bangor Beautiful, the garden show.
Yes.
95 at the Auditorium and Civic Center. Floral displays, lectures, vendors, and they have to have food there. They got to have an excuse to get me there. Friday, 9 to 9. Saturday, 9 to 9. And Sunday from 10 to 5. It's going to be a great time. We get to enjoy spring, even if Mother Nature's not going to